Welcome to Business World One-on-One. I'm Cathy Garcia, Editor-in-Chief of Business World. Today, we're diving into the evolving world of property development. From smart cities to sustainable communities, we'll explore how Federal Land NRE Global, a powerhouse joint venture between Federal Land and Nomura Real Estate Development, is building the future one development at a time. I'm joined today by the President of FNG and the Vice Chairman of Federal Land, Mr. Thomas Mirasol. So the real estate market is evolving rapidly, not just in the Philippines. What key trends are shaping the real estate industry right now? And how can the Philippine market and FNG position itself to benefit from these trends?
Okay. I think it would be more useful to kind of break it down into categories, right? Let's say office and residential. Then we can leave retail for last. The biggest trend in office, I think we've all sort of experienced it, is the work from home. Right? That's been the biggest sort of disruptor since the pandemic. Since the pandemic, the number of days work from home globally has kind of stabilized. No? And during all of these years, companies were asking, is the work from home thing, is it here to stay? Is it going to go away? The data suggests that it's here to stay. If we look at companies like Google and Microsoft, Microsoft is the best example. They've recently given instructions to their employees to work at the office at least 3 times a week. And you can imagine what it was before, no? But even then, 3 times a week is still, by most companies, I think Philippine standards, that's a lot of work from home. Now, that policy has driven office design. Companies have policies like that. It means that some companies have actually reduced the office footprint that they need if they're expecting that a good percentage of their people will be working from home. In Asia, working from home is not as prevalent as it is in North America, but I think the average in the Philippines is something like 1.2, 1.3 days a week. So that's driving office occupancy in terms of the footprint. But the other thing that you might have noticed in many companies is office design itself is changing. How do offices sort of earn the commute? I mean, that's the term, right? You, as an office, you now have to earn the commute of your employees, how much time it takes to get to the office. And, some companies have responded by providing, say, more wellness, right? Gyms and dining, and coffee shops and that sort of. Some companies are even offering, counseling on site, right? And that's driving how developers will design their buildings. They're designing their buildings for this sort of new trend in how office locators need to provide for their employees. One of the biggest challenges these days is actually finding the talent, because everyone seems to be growing, right? But the hardest thing right now is finding the talent. I mean, I think globally that's a trend. No? And if in this world of hyperconnectivity, you are able to work from anywhere, then you're no longer competing with the companies that are in your neighborhood. You're competing with companies abroad. So designing office space that makes it worthwhile for the employee to come in, that's a big challenge right now. For residential, for example, what we've been seeing is a lot of sort of hyper amenitizing. Living spaces generally have been getting smaller and smaller over the years, whether that's condominiums or houses. And I think this is because, property prices, continue to rise, and it becomes an affordability issue. But also, family size has been sort of shrinking over the years. And I think what we're seeing is that people are valuing the convenience of a city location. But for most people, that means it's a condominium that's
Yeah.
going to be your option. So smaller sizes, better locations, more convenience, and hyper amenities. I think that's what we're seeing a lot of.
What do you mean with hyper amenities? Is it like a gym or
Right.
co-working spaces in
Exactly. 10, 15 years ago, it was enough for a condo to have a swimming pool, a decent gym, and maybe a function room. But you're seeing now condos are offering, co-working spaces, different kinds of, like say, flexible courts, either basketball or tennis or pickleball, things that can be used for multiple uses. Yoga is a thing, karaoke is a thing. I mean, you can come up with any idea. In order for a condominium to do well, developers now have to offer a whole host of amenities that they never used to have before.
So how is F&G trying to take advantage of these trends, like for your residential projects? How is this being reflected in your projects?
Well, I mean, very much like how the market is going. F&G is providing all of these things as a matter of course. The thing that F&G offers that I think is unique is, our Japanese partners bring in, all of their many years of experience in designing efficient, well-working, homes, right? And that starts from the very design, structurally, mechanically, everything that we can do to make the living experience better. It's important that it's not just about selling the product. That's just the first step. The real test, if you're doing a good job, is that that space remains relevant and valued by the customer for 20, 30, 40 years.
So maybe we can talk a little about federal land, NRE Global. This is a landmark partnership between real estate giants in the Philippines and in Japan. Can you walk us through how the collaboration came about?
It started, we have a joint venture with Nomura Real Estate and Isetan Mitsukoshi. And that was, the beginnings of this partnership. That joint venture began in 2018 with one project, the Seasons Residences, 4 high-end residential towers with a retail podium where the Mitsukoshi in BGC is right now. That was one of Federal Land's most successful projects. And because of the success of that, it sort of became natural that, okay, there has to be a sequel to this, right? I mean, it's a formula that works. So during the pandemic, doing calls on Microsoft Teams and Zoom for a while, the idea of the joint venture and the deal itself was put together remotely.
That's good. So F&G, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, it seems to emphasize Japanese tradition, innovation, and collaboration. Can you share how these values are reflected in your project?
Simplicity and efficiency. I think you will see these things in all of the products that we put together. It's actually quite eye-opening to see how the NRE engineers and designers go about planning for a project. They go into a level of detail that we had not seen before. Ultimately, it means that we'll have better products, right? They get built better. There are fewer surprises during the development stage, and residents will have a product that works for generations.
Yeah. So are there any specific Japanese technologies or maybe innovations in your projects that you feel should become the standard in Philippine real estate projects?
Well, okay. So there are certain things which are available right now, and there are certain things which they're doing in Japan which I hope to see in our projects in the future. What's available right now that's sort of more unique is all of the storage capabilities that are built into a condominium unit. I've heard our designers say that it effectively adds, I think, anywhere between 10 to 15% more space to a typical condominium. Underfloor storage, innovative kitchen storage, things that we've never done before. We are doing this now. In Japan, in one of the NRE projects, for example, when parcels come to your condominium, there's sort of a two-way locker, right? On the outside, deliveries can be put into your locker box. On the inside of the condominium, you have your key and you open your locker box and it's there, right? It's completely safe, and it's very efficient. Another thing which I think is quite interesting is that in this particular project, when you come home, you drive your car, there are 3 or 4 sort of garage doors, and you park your car there on the ground floor. Park your car on the ground floor, and you walk away.
What?
Your car
is parked somewhere
automatically.
Oh wow!
Right, through a mechanical parking system, and then when it's time for you to leave the next day or later on, you go down to where you left it. You type in the code for your car, and very shortly, garage door opens. Your car is there, facing out.
Oh wow!
That's great. It's great. Yeah.
It makes your life so much easier.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think the one you mentioned about the locker boxes, I think if that's implemented here, it'll be very useful, especially since the boom of e-commerce in the country.
Exactly. Yeah.
It addresses the issue of security and the packages.
And you'll notice that many condominiums that were designed, even not too long ago, they have not accounted for in their design the fact that you have all of these deliveries coming in. They end up getting piled up everywhere in the lobby.
Exactly.
Right? But this change in the way people consume, it's here to stay.
Yeah, I noticed a lot of Filipino home buyers are really interested in the concept of smart living, right?
Yes.
Like, how do you think that influences their preferences and decisions in buying a property?
Okay. Smart living, if we define it as, you're living in a place that has some versions of smart technology, is important. And as time goes by and technology becomes more and more widely available in the Philippines, it will remain important. However, the most important things have not changed, right? Your location, the quality of your neighborhood, proximity to leisure, proximity to retail, proximity to your office. These are foundational things that don't change. Now, during a person's time in their life, sometimes you're willing to trade off an inconvenient location for, let's say living in the suburbs, a greener environment. At other times, you will value more, being proximate to entertainment or to the place that you work. So those basic things are there. Those will always be dominant, right? Having access to smart technology or smart features just makes it a little bit better.
Yeah. Exactly. So I think with FNG's projects like the observatory and is it Yume at River Park?
Yes.
Yeah, because there's a lot of Japanese influence in design and innovation in these projects. Are your projects targeting a lot of not just Filipinos but also Japanese home buyers?
Surprisingly, okay, let me just say that we did not set out to target foreign buyers to begin with, but surprisingly, we are getting a lot of Japanese interest. And it's happening very quickly. there are limits on how much of any particular condominium can be sold to to foreign nationals. We are fast approaching that limit already. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And I think it's a great tribute to the reputation that Nomura has, and I'm pretty sure that is happening simply because Nomura Real Estate is our partner.
Yeah, I think the reputation of Nomura as a in Japan is quite impressive.
Yes,
right?
it's excellent.
So but for the Filipino market, do you see there a demand for these Japanese influenced projects? Is that a selling point? The main selling point for your project is that you're offering a chance to experience Japanese living in Manila?
Yes. The Philippines has long had an affinity for things Japanese, both in technology and popular culture, right? I think in terms of, say, electronics or cars, the Philippine market appreciates the thinking and the quality that you find in most Japanese products. We believe that same affinity and value can translate very well into real estate. Because, especially because, it's an expensive investment. And, if you have that extra layer of assurance that it was planned right and it was executed right, it can make all the difference.
But for Japanese buyers, are they mostly investing in these units, or is it more of like end user? Are they end users?
Yeah, it's a mix actually. There are those Japanese who are here simply because it's a great investment. But there is that segment of the market that either works here a lot or intends to retire here in the Philippines. So we have a nice healthy balance of both.
And I guess they also get the assurance that they're getting Japanese quality style of living.
Yes. Well, now things made in Japan are not exactly the same as things made in the Philippines, because in Japan they have access to certain materials and technologies that are either not available here in the Philippines or would be too expensive to bring to the Philippines at this point in time. So it's not an equal, it's not exactly the same thing, but it is certainly a level up from what's typically found in the Philippines.
Oh, good. But maybe we can talk more about the Yume at River Park and the River Park project.
Yeah.
Like, how's the progress in the development of these projects?
It's moving along quite nicely. Very soon, we have a major, well, aside from what's happening at Yume, let me talk a little bit about that first. No? So the construction progress at Yume is on track, doing very well. In addition to the basic subdivision and the clubhouse, we have 2 houses that are coming up. These are model homes because we will be offering sort of Japanese-inspired homes. Nomura Real Estate is a big home builder in Japan, as well as a high-rise condominium builder. So we're leveraging their experience, their technology in this to offer the same thing here in the Philippines. In addition to what's happening at Yume, there are a couple of other things going on. The Calyx construction, the opening of one of the new exits there, that's expected to be completed by the first half of 2026. We're very excited about that. We have a major logistics facility that we're developing for Uniqlo Philippines. I think it's going to be their biggest in the country. That's coming along very well. That should be ready by the end of this year. SM is developing a large shopping mall.
General 3, yes.
Yes. We're very excited about that as well. We have a major locator which is going to be setting up at the River Park. We're not at liberty to divulge who
is it
or
a
what
multinational?
Better.
Okay, great. So what you mentioned that at Yume you're going to have Japanese style homes.
Yes.
What are these features that set them apart from like a traditional Filipino home?
Well, In terms of the sort of aesthetic design, right? Yeah, clean lines, efficient layouts, cool colors, very thoughtful design, right? In terms of the technology, I can't say that these are high tech, right? But as far as offering a lot of greens, for the home, an environment that's very open and airy. It's designed to take into consideration, weather, hot and cold, and a lot of ventilation. We do expect that the living experience, which again is always the most important thing for us. The living experience is something that I think the Philippine market will value.
Are there other upcoming projects in River Park that you can talk about? Or?
Well, yes, we will be launching a series of medium-rise buildings in the first quarter of next year. We've recently sold out our commercial lots, right, in near SM. We're going to be launching a second batch of commercial lots. I think that's early next year as well. We already have one major locator that's going to be there, and we'll be in a position to disclose that as soon as the contract has been signed.
Yeah.
But it's a major Philippine-Japanese company.
Oh, okay. We'll be sure to be on the lookout for that news. So F&G is this big partnership, right? How critical are the strategic partnerships in real estate sector, and in what ways can developers effectively leverage these collaborations to create future-ready communities?
Okay. Joint ventures, this is going to sound very basic, no? But joint ventures happen when partners bring different advantages to the table. In some case, a partner has land but doesn't have cash. In other cases, a partner has cash but doesn't have the land.
Yeah.
There are a number of other things that are valuable to a joint venture. For example, a brand, technology, an organization. All of these things can be leveraged to make up or compensate for things that one or another partner either lacks or is not as strong as. Now, I think joint venture partnerships will continue to be as important, if not more important, than they have been, because, well, there's a lot of activity happening in the Philippine market. Foreign companies, joint ventures, bring in new thinking, new technology, new ideas that maybe the market here hasn't been exposed to. At the end of the day, it ends up with products which are good for the Philippine market.
Was there anything that you learned from the Japanese side that you thought like, oh, this is something different?
Oh, many things actually. Again, the level of detail that goes into the planning at each stage is a completely different level from I think what most development companies in the Philippines do. It's a lot of work. But at the end of the day, there's an assurance that we know this is how the product will turn out.
So you've recently taken on the role of Vice Chairman of Federal Land while continuing as the President of F&G. How do you balance these leadership roles, and what strategic priorities are you looking at? Are you focusing on?
Well, I think we have the benefit of strong organizations, both in Federal Land itself and in F&G. Our principal, Alfred T., he's very involved in everything that goes on, and we sort of take our lead from him. He finds the energy, so the rest of us find the energy as well.
That's good. So maybe looking at the broader real estate market, I think interest rates have been going down recently, but they're still still pretty elevated, right? So how is this affecting your current strategy in the market?
Okay. Interest rates have been going down, and I've been having this conversation on the side with some people. I don't consider interest rates as elevated. Okay. Because when I built my first home, I was paying 18% per annum.
18.
Wow. Okay, 18% per annum. You know, and right now I think base rates are somewhere around 5%. No, it's hard for me, you know, coming from my experience, to look at that and say that that's a high interest rate. No, that's not a high interest rate. It may be higher than what some people are used to, but you know, from my
18%.
perspective, it's gone way down in my lifetime. Now, is there a bad time to buy real estate? Well, I guess it depends on a customer's particular situation at that point in time. We are blessed, I think, in the Philippines that for the most part, investing in property has almost always turned out to be a good thing, right? Of course, there are going to be pockets in you know, places here or there where maybe it didn't work out as well. But generally speaking, real estate has always been a solid investment.
Yeah, and I think that's always what people have been saying, right? If you have the money, you should buy land,
yes,
property.
Yes, I mean, the Philippines is, you know, I have experience in some international markets, and you know, one of the things that makes, I think, the Philippines unique is that the Philippine mindset is buy and hold. It's not buy and flip.
Yeah.
You know, when you have buy and flip, it creates situations where there's volatility in the market. But because, you know, the Philippine cultural sense is when you buy property, you are going to hang on to that. You're going to pass that down to the next generation, and that makes for a very stable market.
Yeah, exactly. So I think in recent months or recent years, a lot of property consultants have been talking about the oversupply of condo units in Metro Manila in particular.
Yes.
How are you? I know you only have like I think just the observatory, right? So, but how are you navigating this oversupply?
Okay, the oversupply, again, it affects different geographic locations differently. There is no such thing as one sort of universal market and that's oversupply everywhere. In the Philippine context, there's oversupply in certain, you know, in certain areas. For example, you will not find, or it will be very hard to find developers in, say, Makati or BGC that are dropping prices, you know, because of oversupply. No, that's, you know, we don't see that happening. So it's very localized problems, and if you happen to be exposed in that particular market, well, you know, there are ways, there are people that are managing it, right? I mean, what we've seen developers doing is you know, lowering the sort of entry barrier to buy property there. But for the most part, no, you're not seeing any kind of sort of panic right now. There are some buyers that I think are right to look very carefully at their next purchase, but we are not seeing a downturn in demand. Okay. We have a housing shortage in the Philippines. I mean, we've been talking about that for 20 years. And so despite this oversupply, right, the housing shortage is still there. There are many millions of people who still want to buy their first home. And I think in this particular situation, there are little pockets. This is now their opportunity to, you know, to make that move for them.
I think the main issue is probably affordability of these projects.
Yes,
right?
it's affordability. Yeah.
Yeah. So do you see any like solution for this kind of, how do you address the oversupply in the market? Should companies just bring down the prices so that
in those areas where there is an oversupply, you see developers, they're offering, you know, incentives for people to come in, and for the most part, it seems to be working very well. We've looked at the performance of the listed companies here, and there's a lot of sales velocity that's happening even in those areas. From the federal land point of view, we continue to grow year on year. Yeah, again, because the demand is there.
And I think you're in a different segment from the rest of the
Well, we're mixed. I mean, we have a lot of projects kind of spread out all over, but we're fortunate that we've done okay.
I think the Philippine real estate market is facing some challenges. I mean, in the next couple of months, because of like the economic downturn, a possible economic downturn because of the tariffs and everything, like on global uncertainty. But for you as a property executive, where do you see the industry heading in the next 12 to maybe 18 months?
I think we will see growth across the board, right? We have seen reports of a slight downturn in GDP, I think going from maybe 5.5% to maybe 5%. It's still the second highest GDP in Southeast Asia. We're second only to, I think, Vietnam. The Philippine demographics is something that we can rely heavily on. We're a young country. We're a growing population. These people will need places to work. They will need places to live. So that is not expected to change, I think, until the year 2060. And by 2030 or 2035, we have seen recent predictions that the Philippines will be in the top 20 economies of the world, simply because that's the demographic dividend.
And how do you see F&G taking advantage of that?
Oh well, the vision for F&G is to grow and to grow strong. The ultimate objective is to be among the top 3 developers in the country within a certain time frame. I just want to share this with you. I am a big believer in people owning real estate. Not just because I have a bias for it, which I do, but I think property ownership changes people's behavior. You know how if you're commuting or whatever, you see people throwing stuff out the window and stuff like that. They're walking along the sidewalk, they'll dump their trash anywhere. That's because they don't live there. And if everyone was a property owner, you would see all sorts of behaviors change. Their communities would be cleaner. I mean, Pasig River, whatever, people throw stuff, Pasig, whatever. They wouldn't do that if they owned the property that they were in, because the damage that causes to the environment, flooding and all that health, they would be the ones to be hurt, right? So if you're a property owner, number one, I think you become a better citizen, right? You'll take care of the community. You'll be more engaged because you have something at stake. You will vote more wisely, right? Again, because you have an investment that depends on things working the way they should. Being a property owner changes how people behave, and we have to get more people to be property owners.
Yeah, exactly. Especially if you notice, like in front of your house, right? You want the front of your house to be clean.
Exactly. So if everyone took care of the communities that we would be in, it would be a different city. Metro Manila would be a different city.
Actually, yeah, you're right. Because if you're just a renter, you don't care if the front of the house is ugly.
Exactly. Yeah, there's a very different behavior you see in tenants and property owners, right?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So let's make everyone a property owner. Yeah. Everyone has to be a property owner.
Thank you, Mr. Mirasol, for your insights. And that concludes Business World's one-on-one series. Be sure to follow Business World on our social media channels. I'm Cathy Rose Garcia. Thank you for joining us.